Said I'm going down. You guys just fun. Gonna join in a rock and roll band. Got to get back to the land and set my soul free. We are stardust. We are golden. We are building garden. And we've got to get ourselves back to the garden. Well, then can I walk beside you? I have come to lose the smile, and I feel myself becoming.
Hello, friends. This is Hank with an AGR at 8:43. I wasn't lying. I mean, I was aiming for 4:44. You know, sometimes I miss Mars in the sky, you know, just by a degree or so. Like Kipling said something about there's a hole in the teapot and the universe is leaking out. Alright, I'm not gonna fiddle fuck around with you like for an extended ridiculous opening. What the hell? Somebody's talking to me already? Thought it would be to be censored. Well, hello, a question day. Alright, let me get on to it. Because my books were never printed and whatever. Anyway. The black arts for white hats. That's the premise of this whole thing. Now, I want people to take notice of the Afghani incursions into both Iran and Pakistan. And as like I said, we didn't lose the Vietnam War. I mean, look at from fucking Thailand to Cambodia to Laos to Vietnam. I mean, when America goes to do a thing, it's way beyond politics. So, and if you tell me it's about the fucking money, I'll want to stick it up your ass, because we obviously see it's not about the money. I mean, wars are a lot of time about blood and treasure. Well, it can also be about other things too. Like, you know, do we want to take a look at the opium war? I mean, who has more access to opium than the Afghanis? Who has a border with China? Who has a reason about $1 billion worth of American hardware fucking sitting there, battle hardened and trained by Americans to put that bullshit down? And if shit got crazy, I mean, they could crawl up the ass of China, they could crawl up the ass of fucking Pakistan. They're already crawling into the ass of Iran. So don't tell me that we've lost that fucking war. I mean, I know they like the wars to go on forever. I know they would like to support fucking wars forever. And war never stops, man. Like, some places in the world, maybe you just won't be involved in one, but that's, you know, until the second coming of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and everybody really gets it together and sees, you know, the truth. You know, it's baked into the cake, man. It's not realistic to say there's going to be no war. So what was the war? Well, I think we'll just have to see how that unfolds. We'll see how it unfolds, like our help with China back in World War I and World War II, like our help with Korea, like our help with the Brits. The fall of the cabal. Well, no, sir. I don't believe that that is the case. I'm not sure. That's the way that it works. But it doesn't really matter. What matters, it's right here. It's right there. It's not out there. And I'm not sure even what to call the cabal, although I am aware it exists. I was talking about the, the Magvie sock, it's like what happened, and I discussed this at great length a while ago, and it was actually kind of proven as guys came forward and said, yeah, this is what we fucking did. It was like Colonel Kurtz out there in the jungle on the other side of the line. Like, we're talking way past, enemy country. We're talking about, building tribes, to win a war at any cost. Now, what happens if you can't get your little CIA assassin up in there? Fucking CIA flew a drone over and blew up some Americans in Afghanistan after the war was over. But everybody got so fucking pissed. That shit didn't happen again. So go ahead, whatever. Fucking Opium War Part 2, Compliments of Afghanistan. If China wants to really be a fucking pain in the ass. China, in my opinion, is not a pain in the ass. China was like the whole fucking reason that all of Western Europe crossed the ocean, accidentally found America. Was to get to China, because the Muslims got right in the fucking way, right up there in what you would call Constantinople or Istanbul, like right in Turkey. Turkey, like sticking it right in your ass. Like, you can't go that way anymore. Why? Because of the caliphate. So, I guess you're going to have to sail across the fucking world and find a new way. Like, if you can get past the belief that the earth is flat, which it might be. As long as you can get from here to there. China used to be a republic. That's the Republic of China. Like, China's affairs are Chinese affairs, and I'll get on to that, because I actually find it quite laughable. Just because of you, I'm going to go ahead and skip right to the part with China. Okay. All right, here we go. The end of American first moves. Okay, so like think of it as a poker game. America was short stacked, and we're 200-300 years old. So we make big moves, risk everything. We end up in a lot of everywhere, in a lot of pots and a lot of hands. Some we win, some we lose. But we don't ever walk away completely a loser because we got in there and we fucking played. Now, the game has shifted. The game has shifted now where America is going to protect its stack. And China is now forced to make big bets as fast as they can because the treasury bills are losing value. So, we have America has the reserve currency. Reserve currency is coming in. The dollars are being devalued. China is still being paid in dollars by everybody around the world. China has to acquire assets as fast as possible before the dollar loses too much value. Therefore, China buys problems. China is making big bets, and they have to make them quickly. They have to spend the money quickly. And that's going to inevitably, ultimately cause them problems. Like, have you ever tried to go to Africa for any fucking thing? Even for a vacation? Yeah, I've heard that, you get some French white women, and a couple like American tourists or something, and like a few other, maybe a British tourists or whatever. Why talking fucking white people? And they go for this little safari on the edge of the Congo or some shit where they're supposed to feel all safe and protected. And some, war band pops out of the jungle, and the French woman is just screaming too much. The mother, they basically raped the two girls. I mean, the two French teenage girls. They raped them to death, and basically cut their throats when they're done, and then shoot the mother. Like, welcome to Africa. The Chinese, okay, yeah, well, we're gonna make an infrastructure investment. We're gonna buy a fucking African whatever the fuck. We're gonna buy a Swedish or I don't know, what are they acquiring right now? Some kind of drug companies or whatever. I'll get to your crypto bullshit here in a minute. They're buying everything that they can acquire. So you could even be buying a Trojan horse. Like, who knows what you're buying if you have to acquire it quickly? Then you have to manage it. I mean, they got 2.1 billion people, and the Chinese are very, very clever people. Let's not forget that. And the Chinese, deep in my heart, I do not see the Chinese as my enemy. I cannot think of a time in history where the Chinese have been my enemy, or to even be an effectual enemy, I can't find a reason for China to be my enemy. Like, China has been an enemy to itself. Others have been enemies to China. China has been an enemy. Well, China really pissed off Genghis Khan, who really stuck it to their ass up in Mongolia, and now we got some Mongolian sumo wrestler really running that shit. It's a Japanese sport, but it's not exclusive to Japan. So you got a big fat Mongolian pushing it straight up out the ring. So it's like the Chinese have fucked around with people, and they fucked around with people so much. Like, the people that they fucked around with were the wrong people to fuck around with, and they ended up going to conquer the whole fucking world, even all of Europe, and they turned around and went back because Genghis Khan was focused on one thing, fucking China up, because China was fucking him up, and that was it. And China doesn't do so well when they go around to fuck people up. Unless it's a Chinese affair, unless it's an internal Chinese affair. And then they come up with their own shit, and then I guess if you're fucking Chinese, you better bow down or whatever. It's like gang, clan kind of shit that we sort of have in America. We sort of have in the West. But ours, in my opinion, is based on principle, which I could also get to here in a moment. But anyway, Opium War, compliments of Afghanistan. Again, like, we might fuck up. Depends on what you see victory as. 20 years. And I know these people because I am this person. I wasn't a soldier, but I am an American. And I know guys that went there and did that. And I know what they're about. I know them because they're my friends. I know them because I grew up with them. And I know them because some shit don't change. Not in your heart, not in your soul. It just doesn't. So that has an effect on people when they get to know you, and they're going to have to know you in peace, and they're going to have to know you in war if you're there. And they'll get to know you especially well in war, which is why I believe in the Western ideals of honor. Well, I mean, I guess honor is a respectable thing across the world. Most importantly, honor. Honor. Right. There's crossing the line. Right. It was put to me the other day that SG-42, he was talking about like some internal, I'm talking about low intensity conflict or something. And he had some collaborator or whatever, and was responsible for the deaths of the families that were in the area or something. And the families are coming back on him. And, command wants him for intelligence. Want to find out what he knows. So they got like A couple of guys in a basement with a car battery, some jumper cables, and let's just say I'm there. All right. So we got 3 guys there. We got the interrogator, we got the guy that's doing the torturing, and we got me that's standing there. Now, I believe militia actions or any type of actions that require that sort of shit, I don't believe in torture. I believe that was one of the worst fucking decisions that was ever made that was sanctioned by the government. Anybody that believes that it should be like part of our doctrine or legal or whatever should be tortured themselves until we break them the fuck down, and then they just shut the fuck up forever about it. Torture is unacceptable. So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, alright, what the fuck do I need to know from this motherfucker that's so important that I can watch these 2 sadistic sons of bitches go on and dishonor me? Dishonor my unit? First thing I'd do is shoot the prisoner. And then if either one of them tried to draw, I'd shoot the fucking both of them too. Fuck them. And then if anybody else asks about it, I'll tell them exactly why I did it. I said, now your problem's solved. The guy that you hated is fucking dead. And these 2 assholes, these 2 fucking sadistic scumbags are dead too. So, fuck you. And whatever you gotta do, do it. Because I don't associate with fucking scumbags. Well, maybe I do a little bit, depending. But there's lines, man, that you just can't cross. There's lines that you just should not cross. Don't do it. Don't do it. So that's what I'm talking about. I could also talk about Kashmir a little bit. Politics and war, 2 different systems of government with an overlap in principles. That's what I'm talking about here. Politics and war. How about, warriors are on one hand, one way, and they are by nature, they have to be kind of socialist and, what you call, I guess, hierarchical. There's a very distinct line, chain of command, which is very different from the Republic, which is not to say that the Republic is incompatible with a military movement. Are our politicians so fucking limp-dicked that they're afraid of the military at this point? They're afraid of some fucking junta taking over? He said, I would like to see you read, and readers are leaders. Ever read the Redemption Manual 5.0? I don't know. I guess I could look into it. I got a stack full of reading I really should get to, but, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm having a little whiskey. So, past 10:30, I'm worthless. So, are they so fucking limp dick they're afraid of some military junta fucking taking over the whole thing? No, they shouldn't be. Shouldn't be. They bitch and complain all the time about, it shouldn't have guns and this and that. Well, everybody guns, and you ain't really got to worry about that shit too much. Dissidents talking about, I'm so afraid now. I'm afraid to live in my own country because they said they would come after dissidents. Well, they've been saying that shit since the fucking Patriot Act. They'll shut you up. They'll fucking censor you. Just like they'll censor me right now. I'm fucking amazed that the AI has dropped some person that I've never seen before in the chat box to see how it reacts and reads all the shit probably that's around me to the wide angle of the fucking camera. Do I believe it's a human? Not for one fucking second. Alright. I don't believe it. You'd have to convince me. Do the Turing test, convince me. Alright. Again, China's forced to make those big bets quickly. Now talk about the European equation. The European equation being of equal concern. Equal concern to who? Well, that would be to America, to Canada, to South America, to everybody in Africa, And I'm going to go ahead and venture a lot of people, or a hell of a lot of people, in Asia. The European equation, it's a little sticky from time to time. I mean, I can't recall ever having a world war that didn't start with or involve Europe. So let me just bring up a little something for you from an American perspective, so you can get an Austrian perspective. And then we'll get on maybe to Austrian economics. I've got that shit hidden all around the place right now, so you can look at that, but that's just whatever.
Hey guys, my name is Lily and today I want to bring you the news from Austria, Germany and the center of Europe. It's now May 2023. In the past 6 to 7 weeks we had a really cold weather. It has been cloudy, cold, sometimes raining, but actually not enough of rain to fill up our water table, so the water table is still very low. But it was really cold, sometimes freezing temperatures, and
now I can skip to the point. I mean, you could watch the whole thing, but she's basically saying, I mean, she if you watch the channel, she goes through her own stuff. She like hides out in the woods. She's building her own survival shelters. I mean, she is basically the Austrian version of a prepper. And Austrians, as far as I'm aware, are kind of like one side of my family. Like I'm kind of, you know, I guess the black sheep, you know, of one side of my family. They like the grass cut on one day. We're talking about that day, it better be cut, and it better be cut to a fucking certain length. Like, they are serious about maintaining a standard, because a reflection on one is a reflection on us all, and we can't be having that. So you got to do it as we say. Otherwise, it's not going to be, you know, as comfortable for you. But, you know, family is about love. Love is about respect. So most of the time, you're never going to turn against your family, and you should never turn against your family, because you just have to, suck it up, fucking do it. Do it. There's no other thing to say. And it's so ingrained, like, I guess like the Austrian way, you know, it's kind of like that way. It's a family. It's extended family. You know, like each person is a little different, but it's an extended family. And we're talking about an extended family insofar as, like, yeah, they share the same blood, share the same bloodlines. I mean, we're not talking about that far from here to there. You know, like when I went outside of the family, it's like I went far away to make sure, like, I wouldn't be cousin fucking. Europeans got to be careful about that. Anyway, pour myself a little more whiskey. I'm going to go ahead and put this on, but the thing I'm trying to point out here about this Austrian is, well, let me show you this first.
my name is Lily and today I want to present to you my new survival knife. Stay tuned. Alright, so I've been working secretly on a new knife, and actually it took me 1.5 years to develop this knife together with my factory in Taiwan. It's a tracker knife, my version of it, and it's really hard to produce because you need special grinding jigs. So it took some time to figure us out how to make a knife like this, but finally we are ready, and finally we can launch this new knife. Now, before I can show you this knife in detail, I want to tell you that it's much more expensive in production because you need a special grinding jig for making this knife. So I only have ordered a couple of 100 pieces, and if I make another order, it will take at least 10 months until I get it. So if you want to get this knife now, it's better to do and purchase it today or tomorrow, because otherwise it will be sold out. Okay, so now I want to show you the details of my new survival knife. Alright, so this is the April 1 tracker, and it comes in a Kydex sheath. This is it. It's pretty big and massive. Kydex right now is really expensive, and yeah, you get a simple belt loop, and you can even open up the belt loop. There's some
Alright, I'm back. Now I think, you're seeing what I'm talking about here. That's what I wanted to show you. Like, okay, how do you like my knife? It's nice, it's pretty. It's probably very effective. It's big, it's heavy, it's expensive. I mean, it's Austrian. Very special design, right? Like, imagine when you get those fucking German weapons in there. Kind of the same deal. I mean, not that far from Czechoslovakia. I mean, we're talking about, CZ. They never stopped making weapons. Europe not having any weapons. Stop it. Stop it. Stop being stupid. So, we're not just talking about knives here. But there is a certain thing that she says here in this next little clip, the clip that I'm going to bring you back to, that I kind of want you to pay attention to. It's a little bit veiled, but it's basically, if you come around and you fuck with my tomatoes, I'm going to cut you with this here knife. And now by the time that the Austrians are ready to defend their shit, they're not gonna fucking stick you. They're gonna blow your ass away. So let's go ahead and we'll take another look at the situation in Europe according to an Austrian right now.
I had a really hard time bringing my own tomatoes through in my greenhouse and polytunnels, so I had to heat my polytunnels with candles for 4 weeks. So it was really unusually cold this spring. So that was the weather, and now it seems to get nicer, and I'm looking forward for a nicer summer because my tomato plants are still a little bit too small. So by the time last year they were much higher than this, and yeah, that really sucks. Anyway, I want to give you the news of this month, or the last month. So what happened in Europe? I'm bringing the news from Austria and also Germany, and that's because I can speak German. So now I want to go through what's relevant. Relevant is of course the inflation, which is still persisting. So this article says that Germany has once been a very cheap country for food and water, but those times are now gone. Then the next article that you can see here is that in Germany, less and less people are buying food, and that's because it's so expensive. So here it's saying that
I guess you can listen to me while we go over this real quick. Let's see if we can get that quote. Oh, you're gonna hear it through my mic, which is gonna suck. And I ain't having that shit where you're like having to go through my fucking mic. And I already told you what the point is, so why are we watching this shit together? I mean, this is not Mystery Science 2000 or whatever the fuck. So, if I don't get to the point quickly, it's not even a point to make. You can watch it for yourself. Like I've always said, fuck off. Alright. Let's go on back to this thing. Now that you know, the Austrians will fucking cut you. Oh, what am I looking at? You should be looking at me and not this. This is a later point. Anyway, European equation, one of equal concern. That's what I've always talked about, and that's what I keep saying. So when the Russians talk about the denazification of the Ukraine, I mean, what are we really talking about here? It's like, what type of resources is Europe able to muster, and what the fuck are they gonna do with it? I mean, who knows who blew up that friggin' pipeline? Like, they want to put it on America. I mean, everything gets put on us, man. Like, you think that some Pulitzer Prize, a fucking AI could write that shit, right? In a question dictionary or in a question day. It's another AI, but AI could write that stuff, make it look exactly like some Pulitzer Prize winning whatever in the fuck his name is. I mean, yeah. And then say, oh, America did it. It's like, I'm so fucking sick of hearing that shit. America did it, America did it, America did it, America did it. Like, France is fucking knee deep into an empire that you wouldn't even know about in Africa. It supplies all the uranium. They talk about, like, oh, there's no energy in Europe, and fucking France is running so many nuclear power plants. Germany could never attack France again because they probably have so many just sitting around fucking nuclear weapons. Like, just stop it. Stop the craziness. Like, of course the fucking French have nuclear weapons, and they probably have a lot of them. God knows where they fucking hit them, or where they could launch them from. And you're talking about the nuclear power plants, they're just all shut down in fucking France? Get the fuck out of here. EU, that Politburo in Brussels. Get the fuck out of here. You can't blame the British shit either, like, oh, we just, Brexit, it's everybody's fucking fault, because you didn't want to be in the European Union, whatever. We try to get our sovereignty back. I mean, they got 14 fucking territories that are under the rule of King Charles. New Zealand, Australia, Canada, like, what the fuck, man? They all have that royal charter. I mean, we got to go on and on and on for a fucking hot minute here. I think Monaco, probably some other kind of fucking islands, some shit that we don't even think about. I mean, they really stuck it up the ass of Argentina, with the fucking Falkland Islands. Like, so let's just cut the shit here. Did the British have the military might that they used to have? No, but do they speak English? Yes. Does everybody else on planet Earth nearly speak English? They have a fucking brain in their head? Sure, they do. Why? Because those crazy motherfuckers. Hey, where do we speak French? Maybe some lake in fucking Ottawa. Some rotten fucking swampy hellhole in Louisiana. France. And all over Africa, asshole. Like, all over Africa. So you better learn French if you want to go to fucking Africa. Shit. Like we say, oh, we don't know anything about French. Well, go there speaking that Chinese bullshit. Go there speaking fucking Mandarin or Cantonese or Fu. I mean, the fucking Chinese can't even decide on their own language. I mean, it is widely disputed that it is the most difficult language in the world to learn, and they want to do business with everybody. What you gonna do? I mean, China is probably gonna speak in English if they want to be understood. I mean, it would amaze me. It's like I said, I mean, the Japanese are extremely particular about it. The Jewish people are extremely fucking particular about it. The Germans are particularly, about language, very particular about language. So get a German, a Jew, and a Jap in a room and have them fucking hash out a contract. So, and then the Chinese want a piece of that action? Fuck me, man. Fuck that. Fuck that. So then I get on to, all right, let's get, we've already hit China's first to commit big bets quickly, which they're doing. And good luck. I said call it American, but speak in French. Like, Wars de la La or some shit like that in the condition of an outlaw. My French is not that good, see. I don't speak a lot of languages. I mean, I speak a little Armenian. You know, what is it now? 9:17, it's not quite afternoon. Mirdita. Like, I try it every once in a while, but that would be afternoon. I don't know what fucking time it is in Armenia right now. Now, the French-Israel connection. Well, let's think about that for a minute. You know, for all the Jews in France during Hitler's wildly indecisive campaigns. It's never the military. It's always the politics. And that's why I say neither one of them. I mean, then they turn around and they blame the banks, and it's bad policy, and then they turn around and blame the soldiers, and they blame war. Oh, and you lost this fucking war, and we lost this money, and that, you know, it's a big fucking blame game. It's like, hey, buddy, how about fucking same team, motherfucker? Same team. Yeah, the French-Israel connection, you know, with Lebanon. Let's go ahead and blow up Beirut, you know, like, what the fuck? You can't tell me that's, that was just some dipshit that loaded the, fireworks and the fertilizer right off next to each other. Like, no, man, they didn't load the fireworks and the the fucking fertilizer just next to each other on the docks where it sat for a couple of years and turned itself into basically a thermonuclear blast that blew out the whole fucking city and destroyed the port. Like, I don't know. Who was that? I have some unkind words for the British, but that's not really fair. Because, I'm thinking real hard. Because I know a few. I find them to be, many instances, well-traveled, well-spoken, with the right principles, ready to defend what is theirs. They're not commies. They're not socialists. They hate Nazis as much as I do. They could just as much have a problem with Europe as I could, and they could just as much have a problem with fucking China as I could. They could just as much have a problem with me as I could with them. So why am I inclined to love the UK? You know, I mean, they came and burned our fucking White House down back in 1812. We had to tell the king to fucking kick rocks. George. And we'd do it again too, Charles. Right there, buddy. Read it sideways. Or however you want. But I think the British people and I could be on the same side. Because our principles are somewhere rooted in the same thing. And though we have different accents, we speak the same language. And I've known and know, and that's one thing about British people too. Like, I've had American friends and they're dead, and I know I've got British friends and they're still alive, fucking still living, thriving, actually. So, you gotta wonder, must be doing something right. And they say, why do you Yanks never picked up on dates or whatever? It's like, those fucking dried figs or whatever. It's like sweeter than maple syrup on bacon or something. Like, and they wrap them, they put bacon or something, wrap it on there. Have a coronation party, get some pirate rum. Look at all the symbolism in it. The hidden hand. So obvious. They want you to see it. Just like anyone else would. The hidden hand is not necessarily a concept of man. The hidden hand is man itself, understood in this thing of what it is that is ours. There's no avoiding it. There's no getting away from it. There's no changing it. There's the better parts of it that you pick and you stick with that, and there's the uglier parts that you oppose with your life if necessary. And that requires a belief that's greater than what Nazis can have. Nazis don't believe in the state. I mean, the Nazis only believe in the state. They don't believe in God. I mean, even communists, have some Confucian beliefs. I'll have to brush up on my Confucianism, and I'm not trying to go into a religious thing today. I'm trying to stick with what it is. And I said some things like, the sun never sets on the British Empire because God doesn't trust the Brits in the dark. Man, don't fucking forget, man. Do not forget. I don't give a shit what fucking Hitler thought he did. Hitler was kind of a pussy, actually. He went out, he fucking screamed his rages. He whipped the whole nation up into a fervor, and like any other gutless politician, he slithered out into his own hole on a mountaintop to let the whole world go fuck itself. And when they went and asked him for a decision, he was relatively indecisive about it, and fucking blew it for himself and the whole of Germany until Russians were coming over the hill, cutting the fucking throats of every woman in Berlin before they were raped to death, like fucking completely raped to death. The Zionist Jews knows the international banking cartels, aka the cabal. Anybody can make that shit up. I mean, go ahead and stuff a big fucking cap onto a king, or go ahead and stick one onto the top of a pope. I'm a Christian. And I could go into that and why I'm a Christian and why I respect Judaism and why I respect Islam. I mean, because we're part of the same family. Like, everybody's trying to divide and conquer. Okay, we got Shia and Sunni. We got Baptists and Catholics. We got fucking... No. You talk about Zionist Jews. Like, one handful of this type of Jew and one handful of that type of Jew. Well, let me invite you to a little bit of a strange bloodline conclusion that I can be honest about. I'm mostly German. But there might be some fucking Jewish blood running through my veins. Does that make me a Jew? No. And can I even be sure about that? Absolutely not. And would I go into 23andMe and let the Mormons keep my freaking blood file, like my fucking DNA in their little mountaintop monastery to tinker around with it however the fuck they want to with the rest of my genealogy? Hell no. Keep them fucking needles away from me. I'll stick it up your ass before you stick it in my fucking arm. Hey, I don't know if I'm a fucking Jew. I don't know if I'm a pure blood German. Like, I don't look black, but I'd be fine with that too. Because in America, guess what? We are Americans. Like, that's what the First Amendment is about. Like, we talking about, really, it's about religion, freedom of religion. And that's where freedom of speech comes in. Separation of church and state. That's why the First Amendment, it's not just for me to go tell you to fuck yourself on the internet all day long. But I'm happy to do that. That's part of it too for me, to let you know that there is no word that should be powerful enough in your mind to make you do something that is wrong. It's not in your heart. It's not correct. You talk about the Chinese, talk about the Jews. We always talk about them. You know, some other invented enemy. The enemy is here, man. The enemy is there. The enemy is within. The enemy is just as potent as the kingdom of heaven. You can find it everywhere. You can find it anywhere. But truly, the kingdom of heaven is from within. And you have to go that route. You have to go that distance. Like I say, the Chinese and their self-directed development, you know, buying the rail lines, buying these companies or whatever. I kind of laugh at it. The American money, you know what American money buys you? A lot of problems. I mean, look at America. I mean, money buys you problems in America. You always have some lawyer asshole that wants to take it from you, some fucking politician that wants to tax you, some fucking, you know, some central bank that wants to inflate your shit. It only happens when your church is private and you don't accept the Federal Reserve notes known as debt instruments of your church. Whatever. The Aston yacht in France was backed by church lands to begin with. Like, if in the Great Depression in Richmond, Virginia, there was a group that came up kind of with their own notes. It's like you could come in, you could sweep the floor, you could repair a desk, you could mend clothing. I'm not sure if you can see that sewing machine there on that table. That's a good investment. But you could mend clothing, you could teach, you could keep books. And what would you get? You would get a note that was just paper from the co-op. Is how co-ops function, because you're only as good as your word. And if your word is good, then who gives a fuck what it's printed on? I could be handing out the same thing. I'm not going to put my face on it, but I could hand you something that would mean something. It means my word is good, that this co-op is good, that this thing is good. I can hand you a piece of silver too. Sure. Silver is a little bit more universal. Gold is a little bit more universal. So if you don't initially take my word for it, then we can deal in something that has a high amount of liquidity like gold or silver. But eventually, you're not going to be able to break that shit down low enough until you can take my motherfucking word for it. Like I said, how would I offload the silver? Like if I had a lot of it, how would I offload gold? Well, I guess I could have a couple of gangsters around and we could keep a ledger. So when I went and paid you, you know, over market value for whatever little thing I needed, and I say, well, this is how much you're going to agree to this, how much fucking credit I got with you. And then we're going to come and take it. Now, why would the gangsters not want to fuck me over and take all my shit? Because I know how gangsters are. Usually they tend to be relatively loyal because they aren't very big thinkers. You don't have to fucking think. And as long as they're plied with booze and food, then they don't have to do too much thinking. And you can go ahead and take care of some whatever fucking business you got to take care of. Keep that ledger, and as long as it's honest, then everybody knows it's good. Now, when you get past the point of honest, and you're being criminal, when I talk about gangsters, I talk about gangsters. When I talk about criminals, I talk about criminals. I'm not talking about stealing here. I'm talking about creating a ledger about what's ours, that we know where we're at. And if you can't make good on it or whatever, the best thing for us to know is why. That way you are us. We are we, the people. We are us. This is like our thing. They say, there's that book, what is it? Our Gang or Our People or something, written by Sinclair. Our people, our us. Man, this is our us. We got toys too, motherfucker. Like, this is what this is about for us. And it starts with our principles. And our principles are pretty easy to understand. It has to do with freedom of speech. It has to do with the ability to defend yourself, or the ability, parity, whatever we're talking about. No quartering of soldiers. You can't just come over and toss my shit and go over and sniff my fucking wife's panties or whatever you feel like you're doing on any day. If some judge keeps abusing that shit, then we kick his ass off the bench. There's just too fucking far. In many instances, there's too fucking far that you go. And we are very explicit about that in America. Like, that right there, those principles mean more than the fucking money, than the paper money. Like, I'll go with the handful of men and women that back the principles, and we will find a fucking way to survive. But we don't worry about the little nickel and dime bullshit, because we are us. And we are more than the fucking bank. We're more than the fucking money. We're more than a fucking empire. We are the essence, the core, the love that we have for one another, no matter what religion, race, creed, wherever you come from, or whatever the fuck you're about, when you're an American. And that's us. Alright, so I'll get on. I say, I heard the other day, I was afraid, I heard somebody say, I'm afraid to live in my own country because I'm a dissident. They said they would kill us and blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, but what I'm more worried about, honestly, it's not the fucking buses and trains for the few people that have the brains to be a dissident voice. It's like when the food gets so tight, when the cities get so wild, when the shit gets like, Katrina level disaster, and people are looking for a fucking way out or a handout or something, they say, they go to like a sports arena or something that's next to like the roadways or the interstates, the fucking rail lines and the airports, and they say, come over here and we'll give you a bag of rice and we'll give you enough. And they'll go there. And they might get wild. And they might try to steal. Or they might want to try to take over something. And then, the machine guns open up because you can't fucking steal like that. Like, you might be able to rob a Target. You might be able to go up north and push all that you want out of a fucking grocery store. Or go into a drugstore and fucking, what do they call it? The place with the Golden Gate Bridge. San Francisco, you might be able to go into a Walgreens and go ahead and just dump that all into the cart and walk the fuck out with it. But I tell you what, you ain't gonna be able to walk the fuck out with is when they're giving away like the flour and the sugar and the rice and the powdered milk and the fucking cheese or whatever the fuck that it keeps people alive. And if you want to go ahead and jump these motherfuckers, they're going to open up with something that's going to tear your ass to pieces. But worse than that, so much far worse than that, is the motherfuckers that go out there looking for help. And they say, well, much love to you too, brother. Good luck today. It's kind of, I guess it'd be real fucking early in Oregon. You must be a 4 o'clock riser. Much love to you. But what really fucking scares me is, like, they say, all right, you come out here and you get on the bus, you get on the train, and we're going to take you somewhere where we can help you. Grandma, grandpa, they wheel you all in. And they take you to that camp where you can work, basically. And maybe they'll keep grandma or grandpa or your mother or your father alive, to keep morale up after a while. But say they just tell you some bullshit like, we can't get the insulin. We can't get their medications. Man, I got a dog that's so dizzy right now, maybe I give him a week. And if he don't get better, can't watch him live a life of misery. Fuck am I supposed to do? Alright? People are just the same way with humans, except more cruel. Like, sometimes you gotta do it out of love, but that type of thing, man, they're not doing it out of love. They're not doing it to help you when you get on that bus or you're getting on that motherfucking train. Like, when you're out there, you're out there. And they can do whatever they want to you. So it's not the dissident voices that I'm worried about them, trying to individually kick down the fucking door, or, like the fucking, maybe the guy with the gold and the silver, or whatever, because nobody, like I said, your word is your bond, and your bond could be anything. As long as your word is good. I mean, would you rather have a gram of heroin or a gram of gold? I guess it depends on who you are. Would you rather have a night of pussy or 2 pieces of silver? I guess it depends on who you are. Right? But the other thing is, like, that's what I'm talking about. Right? Snatch up some fucking dissidents, okay, and piss their families off or whatever, and totally go against American principle, and you're going to end up with some fucking crazy shit on your hands. Like, most people, they're not concerned about, like, fucking January, because the level of incompetence in the political class in the United States, I have to admit, does not frighten me. Not one fucking bit. But here's where I come from about trains and doors being kicked in for dissidents. I say, speak your mind. And if you are capable of doing so, read mine. Remind yourself what my position was and is during a situation like COVID. Like those Chinese snatch and grabs. And I say, like Nathaniel Hawthorne said, we will hang separately or we will hang together. Which means I ask the dissident voices to speak as much as they wish and as loudly as you can. And if you want, implicate me, my family, my friends, implicate my dog, implicate the fish, those budgies sitting there feeding from an open cage. and implicate every crow in the sky. Stick your finger right at me and say, yeah, he did it. If it is evil, I oppose it. And my closing statement here is, I cannot construct a perfect world for you. Inequity and sin, it's baked in the cake. And I'm a man of flesh like any other. One thing, I do not lie myself into perfection. God bless. May peace be with you. It's been Hank.